Hello everybody. This is Alyssa from Main Arts and Crafts, and today we are here for a WIP and chat. So WIP stands for work in progress. Chat, well, we're going to sit here, we're going to chat a little bit about my week, my day, all of this fun stuff, random diamond painting facts, all of that fun stuff. So for today's WIP and chat, I am going to be working on the canvas Halloween bedroom. I think I worked on this last time too, but I'm trying to knock it out. I want to see how much of it I can get done this weekend, because it is a larger square for me and I can't wait to finish it so I can move on to some of the other kits that I have prepared. I do really love the color palette for this and the fact that we have so much color blocking, but at the same time, it's a square and it's a large square and I'm like over it and ready to move on to something else. But anyways, it's beautiful. I'm enjoying the process, but I'm also like, I don't like doing big projects because they take me so much longer. So this is Halloween Bedroom, and this is from the artist Mrs. Butterdy. And you can see here, this is the image. It is a square drill canvas. It's beautiful. It's 53 colors, which is nice. Not a lot of colors. Square drills, 65 centimeters by 91.8 centimeters. And it has a handful of special drills. I want to say, I have this all covered up. I want to say it's got 1 AB, 1 crystal, and 3 fairy dust. So not a ton of specials, but the special placement is actually going really well. Like in this section that you see right here, we have the crystal as the detailing on the chair that she's sitting in. We also have the AB is this green in the plants, and I love that they added that green accent for the AB. And then our dust, like this is a dust everywhere. This kind of yellowed tone is one of the dust drills. The white is a dust drill. I kind of feel like it could have easily been an AB, but I'm also partial to ABs, and I will take an AB over a dust any day. I know, unpopular opinion, but that's just me. And then our third one, we have an orange dust drill as well. Have I really used this orange dust drill? Okay, it's this plus symbol. So it's not in a lot of areas. Well, it was, I feel like it was because it's in a larger tray, but I think it was mostly over in the pumpkins that are on the other side of this image. But anyways, I don't have any of this color in this section. I have some as I come up over right here onto this pumpkin, has some of this orange dust drill right there. So anyways, those are the special drills that this one has. For what supplies that I'm working on with this, I am working with my Yellow Dog Designs trays, which, if you guys have not yet heard, Yellow Dog Designs is officially closed, which makes me very sad. But I'll talk about that a little bit more. But these are my 2 Yellow Dog Designs trays that I use. I've got the small tray and I've got the narrow tray. And I love everything about these trays. I'm also going to be using, I don't think I have any of that one in there. So right now I have this, is the putty that I have in all 3 of my pens. It's Tracy's DP World. It's a pina colada. And I just finished the last of this one. So this is ready to be tossed, that bag, because it is empty now. So I wanted to try to use all of it. Normally I'd use like 2 putties lately. And then I'm also using my Orange Crush Wee Wax, which kind of like cool, interesting point. Wee Wax doubles really well as a floss gloss or floss wax when you're working with like cross stitching, because it is beeswax. So essentially I can use I'm actually making using more of my Wee Wax with my cross stitching to condition the threads before I pull them through than I am with actual diamond painting, which is kind of funny. But hey, it's being used, so that's what matters. And then my other tools that I'm using, my 3 pens that I have going, are these 2 Swampwood pens. I absolutely love them. I've got this one with an 8 placer, this one with a 10 placer. That's like my Halloween pen. I figured I might as well use the Halloween pen with Halloween Bedroom before I finish the canvas. And this is another one that kind of gives me a different shade, like the greens and blues of that one. And then I've also got this pen right here, which is from Triple Crafts, which they were a shop based out of the Philippines, pen maker out of the Philippines. And I think this is from the Taylor Swift collection, I want to say. I don't remember. But I have a handful of, I think I have like 5 of their pens. And there's some really pretty pens in there. I don't know if they're still in business or not. I'd have to check. I've been really cutting back on purchasing pens. Sorry, I have something in my eyeball. So I'm like rubbing my eye to get this, whatever it is, out of my eye. So I've really been trying to cut back on purchasing pens lately. So I've just cut back on all of my purchases lately because I've got some big expenses and everything that I've had recently. So we're going to go ahead and turn my overhead off so I can get into it as far as the diamond painting. and go from there. I feel like I am doing a smaller section on this because this canvas is so tall. You guys, I don't think you even see all the way up to the top. Maybe, yeah, that basically almost to the top. You're like a couple rows away from the top of this half. So that's something that, because I'm working on such a tall section, and it's squares. If this was rounds, I would have done like this whole area as like one section in a round, because it would have gone quickly as a round. But because I'm doing it in squares, they always take me a little bit longer. So I have actually conceded and broken down and done some smaller sections. So the sections that I'm doing are basically the width of one of the pre-cut, like perforated squares, but it's the entire height. But I'm doing it in these little strips to try to which in a way is slower going, but I finish each section a little bit faster than I normally would, because normally I would do both of these as one section. But I don't know, it just felt overwhelming in squares. In rounds, absolutely 100% I would do that. But in squares, that definitely felt a little overwhelming. So I'm sticking with my a little bit narrower sections. I do the same thing if I'm working on a very confetti heavy piece in a square. I'll do the smaller section like this in that confetti heavy piece. So we're working with the H symbol, which is right in here. I was working on this and I'm like, you know what? I've made some good progress on this section. Let me film my WIP and chat before I finish the section. So that's what I decided to do. And I'm not filming at like 10 o'clock at night, you guys. It's only like, what, 6 something, I want to say? 7:15 as I'm filming this, so not horrendously late. So that's actually kind of like a plus. I'm not super horrendously late with this. But anywho, how has everybody's week going? Hopefully you had a wonderful week. My week was kind of like one of those weird weeks because it was like shorter. It felt long but short at the same time for this week. Also, I left work early today because I was just, I think I left at like 1:30 or so because I was just like over it. And I'm like, I gotta get away from my computer. So I left at like 1:30 or so today. Normally I'm there until like 4 or 5. But I'm like, nope, gotta get out of here. So I did. But let's see. I had a meeting when I had to do a presentation at that meeting on this past Monday. And that's always like one of my first of the first Mondays of the month. I have to do this one specific meeting with the presentation. So I did that, then I've been seeing patients all week. And so that's something that we've been working on. We still have the government shutdown, which thankfully they have been paying the active duty. They wait until like the last minute to release funds for us active duty, but we have still been getting paid, unlike my civilian counterparts. So any of our government service or civilians, they are not actively getting paid right now. And the crazy part is a good portion of them are actively still working. Like I work at a hospital and we have the majority of our hospital staff, even if they're civilians that are, government civilians that are on like furlough per se, or that are part of like the government shutdown, those civilians, because it deals with direct patient care, are still seeing patients. So imagine this. We're going on 6 weeks now of a government shutdown. I'm not going to go into the politics of it or anything, but just, being someone that's right in the midst of it, we're going on 6 weeks of the government shutdown. We have civilians that are still being asked to work because what they do impacts direct patient care. So we were told, no, they're working. If they're directly related to patient care, then you still got to work. So that's kind of one of those things. Can you imagine being forced to work and not getting any kind of pay for it? They're supposed to get back pay at the end, but that's not a 100% guarantee. But we're already into, we're getting up into Veterans Day this weekend, which is, big period. But, a lot of people live like paycheck to paycheck and don't have the funds or the savings to be able to really, go off of, be able to say, hey, we've missed 3 paychecks now and we're still good. Wait, no, that's like a lot of people, and especially in today's economy, can't do that. It's like you can't just, I know if I had to go, I think I'd be good for like missing 1 paycheck before I'd be like, okay. And I would kind of have to like do a little bit of like really, I've already like significantly reeled back in and cut back on anything. purchasing wise, because I'm like, okay, they're not guaranteed to pay us military right now, and I need to be prepared to be able to, pay my bills. If I don't get paid, I still have to pay my bills. So that's something that I've been trying to like keep in mind. If you wonder why I have purchased so little stuff lately, like I can't remember the last like diamond painting small shop purchase that I've done. Well, actually, I did make one purchase today. I did make one pen purchase. That's the first pen I've purchased in quite a while. I did make one purchase from a pen because it was like perfect and it was a hybrid and it was beautiful. But at the same time, I felt guilty buying it because I'm in the middle of the government shutdown, trying to not spend money, that type of thing. But I did end up purchasing that one pen. But yes, it's right now is a really challenging time for a lot of people. So if you know somebody who works for the government, like it's a big deal. And I'm not going to, like I said, I'm not going into the politics of any of it. I have my thoughts on the matter, but, and everybody else has their thoughts on the matter. I'm not going to go into that, because politics are something that I try not to discuss politics, religion, anything like that on my channel, because it's like I don't want it to go into like that whole politics are very polarizing, and I do not want to have to deal with any of that at all. And I feel like religion and politics are two very personal choices, what you believe for like your religion and what you believe as far as politics. And I just prefer not to have to deal with that in any way, shape, or form, as far as, like the public side of everything. So I just don't even talk about it. And we're going to move on off of that subject. But let's see. So let's see. So that was of like the portion of this week. I do have to say that the hospital has put together like an internal like food bank in one of the extra spaces in the hospital where people can come in and donate food items. They actually even had like Halloween costumes and everything in there. And it's like a no questions asked. You walk in, it's open 24/7. If you need food, you need any of that stuff, you just walk in to our food bank at the hospital and you just get what you need. And you can be active duty, you can be a government service employee, you could be a contractor. They're not discriminating. If you need something, go in, take it, use it. Which I think is awesome that the hospital has stood that up, because there are so many people that are in need right now. And of all times to have like a government shutdown going on this long, we're in the middle of, we're getting into the holidays. We're working our way towards like Thanksgiving is in a couple weeks. So this is like a challenging time because, people are starting to think about, if they haven't already started buying Christmas presents, they will be soon if they have families and kids and everything else. So this is a very tough time for a lot of people, not even factoring in the government shutdown. Without the government shutdown, it's already a challenging time because the holidays can be very rough. They can be very expensive. They can be really rough if you don't have the money for it, because now, you're kind of like comparing yourself to everyone else around you, especially if you have like kids and you're like trying to do what's right for your kid. But then if you can't afford the same thing that, your person next to you can afford, it can be challenging because your kids go to school, they talk about what they got for Christmas. And if their friends are all talking about, oh, they got all of these things that they wanted, and you can't necessarily afford that, so you get like one or two things that are a much lower price point, that's something that the kids can be happy about it at the moment and in that time. But then when they go to school and they start comparing with what their classmates got, that's when it can be a little bit more challenging, because then it's like, oh, well, they got this, why did I not get it? Which that kind of brings me into like the whole like Santa thing. I actually was never raised believing in Santa. And I know it's a controversial topic when we talk about Santa itself, because that's something that, parents raise their kids where they believe in the tooth fairy, they believe in Santa, they believe in all of this. And that's something that my parents never raised my brother and I that way. It's like, we knew Santa was this fictional character. We knew we would still leave like our tooth under our pillow for the tooth fairy, but we 1000% knew that the tooth fairy was mom and dad. We knew that they were the ones that were, giving us the money for our teeth when we would lose our teeth as kids. So that was something that like my parents raised me with, already kind of like knowing that, when a lot of my classmates still believed in like Santa Claus and tooth fairy and all this other stuff, which honestly, and it's like everyone has their own opinions and you do what's right for you and your family. for me personally, when it's one thing to, think about a Santa as like a fictional character, but I don't know that I would ever be like, do the whole keep the magic alive, Santa is a real type thing. And for me, it's more so when you look at it as the perspective. So, because I always like to try to see the big picture of things. So if you think about it and you're telling your kid that Santa's real, they believe Santa is real, you don't have, you can't afford very much, or it's like, even if you can't afford a fair amount, but it's like you give them their Christmas presents and their Christmas presents come from Santa. So then what happens? They go to school and they compare with, and maybe it was something that they got a lot of gifts from Santa. Maybe it's something that they didn't get very much. But they go to school after the holidays, talking to their friends and their buddies about, like, as kids do, about what they got for Christmas, maybe doing some show and tell, something like that. And now all of a sudden you've got, say you have two kids that got told, that believed in Santa and got their gifts from Santa. One kid got like everything that they absolutely wanted and had wished for and hoped for Christmas. And then the other kid may not have gotten anything because, their family couldn't afford it, or they got one thing. So what message does that send to that kid then, when they were told that, their gifts were from Santa, their friend was told their gifts were from Santa, and now you've got one kid getting a bunch of stuff and another kid that got hardly anything. So what message is that sending to the kid that got almost nothing? Like, it's kind of like telling them, okay, you aren't good enough. You didn't get the same things from Santa. So then you start kind of like ending up with that mindset of, okay, like, what's wrong with me? Why did I not get the same thing? So that's kind of, which then, that, I don't know. It's just, for me, it's like that whole mindset. I don't care for that mindset of everything. And that's my personal opinion on it. If it's right for you and your family to tell your, to believe in Santa, that's completely on you. And that's, you make that decision for your family, but that's my personal thought on it, is now you're creating this like complex, or this mindset of, okay, well, if I didn't get the same as my friend who believed in Santa and got stuff from Santa, and I didn't get as much, why not? What's wrong with me? And it's like, I don't feel like we should be like, I personally don't want to like be putting that kind of like mindset into kids, making them feel less than because they didn't get the same thing as their classmate from Santa. So that's kind of my thought on that process. Granted, again, I do not have kids, so that's a moot point, but that's kind of like my thoughts on like the controversial Santa topic. It's kind of like thinking about, okay, well, yeah. So anyways, I'm not going to beat the dead horse and keep talking about that. But anywho, so that's kind of like where I've been as far as like that mindset. One of the things, I did have a patient tell me today who we were talking about the shutdown and like how it's impacting our people, that type of thing. And, cause there's going to be, there's going to be a lot of people that can't wait this long without a paycheck and end up quitting and getting a new job because they can't go this long without a paycheck. So, then when, the government opens back up, you've got all of these jobs that now need filled, but the government is really slow about doing that because, everyone's going to be like, oh, well, you survived during the shutdown. And it's like, well, we only survived during the shutdown because we stopped doing XYZ, but we need to do XYZ. And now we're behind because we haven't done XYZ. So anywho, but a lot of people, like, if they're, so one of the things we've been trying to compile is all the resources for personnel that they can take advantage of if they're struggling for whatever reason because of like the shutdown and the holiday season. So one of the things that one of my patients told me about today is Aldi's is actually offering $40 Thanksgiving meals. So basically everything you need to make a Thanksgiving meal for 10 people, and you can purchase it for $40, which I think that is pretty fantastic because that like averages out to like $4 per person for that Thanksgiving meal, which is something that's huge when you've got a lot of people that, can't necessarily afford to splurge on this massive Thanksgiving dinner or all of the groceries for a massive Thanksgiving dinner. Because we all know how expensive groceries are right now. I cannot remember the last time I went to the grocery store and walked out with a bill less than, like $100, $150. And I don't buy, a bunch of stuff. I don't buy a bunch of fancy stuff. I don't buy a bunch of expensive stuff. And I'm only feeding me. Granted, I only go grocery shopping every 2 to 3 weeks, but still, it's like you can't walk out of the grocery store with a cheap bill anymore because everything is so expensive. And I don't buy bread. I don't buy eggs. I don't buy like regular dairy, milk type stuff. So like the big ticket items everybody's always concerned about price wise is not something that I've ever purchased. I don't purchase because I don't eat those things. So it's just very, very interesting. And that, like, if you're buying fresh produce, fruits and vegetables, you're going to be spending even more because that stuff, crazy enough, always costs more than the processed packaged food, which is crazy because it's like you would think that, you know, the stuff that you use to eat healthy should be what costs less, but no, it's the processed food that ends up costing less, which then, you know, causes this whole spiral of issues in the States when, you know, we have all of this affordable, like processed unhealthy food that we're putting into our systems full of all of this chemicals and everything else. And we're not putting as much of the produce in because we can't afford the produce. So it's just a very interesting kind of like conundrum when we talk about that. Okay. I know we've like, I don't know what it is about today. We've just kind of gotten into like that serious realm and I'm like, okay, let's change the focus and make it a little bit more fun, a little bit more interesting. I'm trying to think of like, what if I feel like beyond work. One thing I did. So, cause I'm like the day to day for work. I don't have any crazy like work stories for you guys this week. I do have a, kind of like not really a work story, but sort of a work story. So about a week ago, I had one of our family practice residents had reached out to me and like emailed me and was like, hey, so I have a friend who's in physical therapy school and she wanted to like interview a physical therapist, a military physical therapist for, you know, assignment for school. And I was like, and she was like, can I, like, would you be willing to, you know, send her to have your information so that way she can talk to you? And I was like, 100%, absolutely. I'd be more than happy to give you like my information to pass along to your friend and discuss things with like military PT with the friend. So I ended up Thursday night, I had a Google Meet call with this PT student from a school, I think in the Carolinas. So I had this meeting with her and another student, with the two of them for their assignment where they interviewed like military PTs. I think they interviewed an Army PT and then myself as well to kind of put together a little presentation about like military physical therapy and for something for like that for school. So that was kind of fun. It was really cool kind of getting to talk about all the things that I've had the chance to do, kind of like the differences between military physical therapy and like being a physical therapist in the civilian world. Because there are definitely some difference. Like patients are different, the work is different. It's like, yes, you're still, you know, doing patient care, but it's definitely different than the civilian aspect of it. And then I got to talk a little bit about some of the experiences I've had, some of the things that are struggles and challenges being a military physical therapist, because it's not all, you know, sunshine and daisies and perfect smelling roses. That's not like the actual fact of the matter. It's a lot more complicated of a story than just, oh, everything's all fine, hunky-dory dandy type of a thing. That's not the whole picture. It's like, sometimes it's like you may hear as if things are this perfect world, but in reality, it's not. Just like with any other job, everything has their ups and it has their downs. It has its struggles and challenges. Yes, there are also those good times, those really rewarding times, but it's also a little bit different. So it's kind of like a lot of factors that tie into it. But it was really cool getting to talk and kind of share my perspective. I love talking about, you know, being a military physical therapist and everything that I get to do, which is like different than what I would get to do if I was in the civilian world. I've also had so many different experiences in what I've done as a PT. So I've basically worked in so many different settings. Like this is like my 9th move coming out here to Florida, was my ninth duty station or move in 13 years, which is a lot if you think about it. Like I've been moving all the time, like less than 2 years on each location. I've been as short as I think like 13 months somewhere, and then as long as 34 months, and then more on the in between, with the majority of the time being like a 22-month mark for a lot of stuff. What colors am I going to do next? Let's do 4. I'm kind of working from the top down. This is going a lot faster than I thought it would for this section, so we may actually, depending on how quickly I finish this, we're probably going to open up this section as well and start over there. I thought it would take me longer, but that's because I filled in the border, which takes the longest to do the outlining. That takes the longest, and then filling in from the outlining tends to go a lot quicker. Let's do symbol 4. So anywho, yeah, so that was kind of like my work week. A lot of the military is getting a 4-day weekend this weekend, because Monday is the day before Veterans Day, and then Tuesday is Veterans Day, so the holiday. But like, because I work at a hospital, we don't just, say, oh, hey, it's a 4-day weekend, we're closing the hospital. Even though it's like an outpatient clinic type of a setting, and we don't do that. But we are doing what's called a reduced manning day on Monday, and then we have the day off on Tuesday. So the reduced manning day basically means that, fewer appointments. It's like more of like a 50% staff level as far as our active duty are concerned. So it gives like more people the chance to enjoy that longer weekend. Because otherwise it's always awkward if the holiday is on a Tuesday. It's like you have the weekend and then you get to go to work on Monday and then you have Tuesday off. That's always so awkward, and I hate those kind of holidays. It's just kind of like, really, really? So right now my active duty staffing is down a little bit because, people are on getting ready to leave. I've got some people that are sent somewhere else for short term to help out. So people are out with injuries, things like that, where they had surgery. So it's my staffing levels on the active duty side of the house are a little bit lower than they have been, which means that for our reduced manning day, even if I go with like 50% staffing, that really right now, I'm like, rather than going to 50% staffing, I'm like, I'm going to just do like one officer, one enlisted to be there on that duty day because there's so few of us right now. And then, 1 or 2 additional people will then get the day off. Right now I'm down to a lot of my officers are out. So there's literally like 2 of us. So for the next few holidays, it's like I will be working on Monday for the day before Veterans Day. And then my occupational therapist, he will be working on the day after Thanksgiving. I get the day after Christmas. He gets the day after New Year's. And then we're going to be basically alternating back and forth for all of the holidays until we get another physical therapist in who's currently, filling in because they're really short-staffed at another facility. So she's there filling in for a few months. And then also on top of that, we have we're waiting for another occupational therapist to show up. So we're just waiting on that factor. But other than that, yeah, so it's kind of like in every other thing. So I will be working on Monday. So because of that, I was like, I'm feeling tired. I'm going to be here all day Monday, and I don't have patients scheduled. So it's going to be like an admin Monday. And then I'm filling in for my boss next week. So I'll have like that dual-hatted role that I'll be doing next week. So I'm like, okay, since I'm going to be there Monday, let me go ahead and just leave a little bit early on Friday because all of that work is going to be there Monday. I can do it Monday. So that's what I did. That's why I ended up leaving at like 1:30 today instead of staying until my normally on Fridays I leave a little bit early and I leave around like 3:30ish or so. But today I was just like, nope, I wasn't feeling it. I've also like this time change. I don't know about you guys, but this time change has totally messed with my system. I'm a firm believer that we need to get rid of these time changes and just go to whatever time it is, instead of this constant back and forth every 6 months or so for the time change. It's just, my body just struggles with it. So like this time around, like if I sleep I never sleep in the morning, because if I sleep in, I usually wake up with a migraine. So if I sleep past like 6:30, 5:30, 6:30 is 5:30 is like my normal wake up, and then I usually get out of bed at 6:30. But if I sleep past that 6:30 time, I usually wake up with a migraine. It's kind of like one of these weird things. I can go to bed at 10 p.m. I can go to bed at midnight. I can go to bed at 3 o'clock in the morning. If I sleep past 6:30 in the morning, I will wake up with a migraine. It's kind of like a known fact. My body does not like waking up past a certain amount of time. Well, with the time change, my body is still thinking it's 7:30, but I'm getting out of bed at 6:30 because I'm trying to like get my system on track with the new time change, and I don't want to be like wide awake at like 4:30, 5:30. That's too early. The 4:30 time is just too early. So I'm like, okay, well, I'm just gonna, try to adapt as much as rapidly as possible to this new schedule with the time change. But I've got to tell you, it has been like brutal this week. I have had normally I have the really bad migraines, maybe like one of them a week, sometimes 2 a week, but it's like 1 to 2 a week. It's not anything that, and then I have like the low grade headaches or migraines a lot of the other days. But this week has been one of those gnarly bad migraine days. Almost every single, that drill needs to come out. Almost every single day this week, I have had one of these gnarly bad migraine headaches. And it's like, why? What is up with it? And I think the only thing I can think of, because it's the only thing different in my routine, is that it has to do with the daylight savings time and this time change. I think that's what's causing it. And I'm like, okay, my body needs to adapt. Hopefully I can fully adapt over this weekend and reset my system so that way come Monday I am back to, good to go, normal, cruising along without this constant waking up with a headache, because this has not been fun this week. So it's just, I don't know if it's just been something about, daylight savings time is hitting me harder this week than it normally does. I don't know if you guys are struggling with daylight savings time for whatever reason. I know it's always a challenge with pets. So, they may not, because they don't understand that the time has changed. They're like, oh, this is the same time we always get fed, so feed us, human. So that's something that, that can be a challenge when you have the pets that are like, we want fed on this time. Same thing with kids. Kids are like, okay, well, we always get up at this time. Well, so then they'll be getting up earlier, especially on like the weekend kind of a thing. But anywho, so daylight savings, so like kind of headachy all this week. So I ended up leaving a little bit early, but I'm going to be at work on Monday. And then I do have Tuesday off. So that's kind of a good thing. Monday, Tuesday off. Oh my goodness. Sushi's so cute. She stole Mochi's box and she's laying in Mochi's box all curled up in a tiny little cat ball. She's adorable. And then Mochi is over in my chair, over where that's kind of sitting off to the side. Oh, that does remind me. So you guys know I like went over my long vent and rant about chairs last week in my video. Well, I had been looking, and I think I mentioned that I had found one on Facebook Marketplace that was, a decent price considering how expensive the Herman Miller chair is brand new. Like these chairs usually run around $1,500, which that's way outside of my price point to pay $1,500 for a computer chair. Like, no, thank you. Even if it helps to reduce my back pain and makes it feel better to sit for longer periods and diamond paint and whatnot, that's outside of my price range. I do not have the budget for a $1,500 chair, and I do not want to spend $1,500 on a chair. Even if it feels good and makes my back feel better, like, I'll deal with some pain rather than spending that. Because I have a lot more that I could be spending $1,500 on besides a chair. So I was like looking on Facebook Marketplace, and I found this person that had one of these chairs listed. I think they had it listed for like $365, which was still more than I wanted to pay. So I kind of like dawdled and piddly-dinked around and everything for most of this week. And then I think it was Wednesday. I sat down at my desk on Wednesday and I was going to start like cross stitching. And then I was like, no, I need to check Facebook Marketplace, see if it's still up there. And if so, I can always, offer them less. So I messaged, and sure enough, it was still listed. I messaged the seller and was like, hey, will you take $300 for it? Because it was listed at like $365. And they were like, yep, we'll take $300. I'm like, okay, I can do $300. I'm still like cringing at the fact that that's $300. The plus side is I did have the cash for that. So part of it was money that my parents had given me as cash for my birthday that I had, just kind of chilling in my wallet. And then my mom, whenever we go on trips, like with me and my parents, and anytime we do a trip or anything like that, we tend to have like one person pays for everything up front. And then we settle the accounts at the end of the trip rather than kind of doing the, oh, well, I bought dinner now, you buy dinner later. We don't deal with that kind of hassle back and forth. We just have one person pay for everything. And then at the end of the trip, you kind of like go over and you say, okay, this is what the total cost for the trip was. And then you split it however many ways. So like my mom and I had done the trip down to, in September, we had done the trip down to Disney and to the retreat. So with all of the expenses for between our Disney tickets, our hotel, the retreat, all of that had added up, and my mom had given me like her portion of it in cash. So, and I have this like little wallet type thing that I normally keep extra spare cash like that in. So that way it's kind of like a pseudo little mini bank. Well, I cannot find it. I have searched. It's somewhere in this house. I have searched for that stupid little wallet because I was thinking it because I had put the money that my mom gave me from her part of Disney. It was sitting on the table and I was like, well, I need to go put it, since it's cash and it's a larger quantity of cash, I'm going to go ahead and put it in that little wallet. And, once it reaches a certain amount, then I can go get it like deposited kind of a thing or spend it on something. Well, I cannot find that little wallet anywhere. It's in this house somewhere. I just don't know where it is because I knew exactly where it was when I was in the RV. And then, I moved into the house, unpacked everything, and now I can't find it. If you guys, I bet like a lot of you are that same way where it's like you organize things and now all of a sudden you can't find the stuff. And that's where I'm at. I cannot figure out where it is. It's wherever my other wallet that has all of my spare credit cards in it is, because I don't carry a purse, so I carry like a tiny wallet that's attached to my keys. It's like my wallet and my keys are the same thing, like a little wristlet thing. Well, I have another secondary wallet that I keep all of the extra credit cards in, because my wallet, I keep my driver's license, my military ID, my government travel credit card, because I have to be prepared in case there's a hurricane or anything like that. So I always keep my government travel card on me. And then for use for the work related emergencies. And then I have one personal credit card and then my debit card. So those are the things that are in my wallet. Because again, it's not very big. It can't fit a lot of stuff. Well, that little secondary wallet that has all of my extra credit cards has disappeared to the same like abyss that my wallet that has my extra cash in has disappeared to. And I can't figure out where it is. It's somewhere in this house. I just don't know where. So that's something that I have to figure it out. I'll have to do like a room by room deep clean, looking into every drawer, every cabinet, every box, every bin, to see if I can figure out where this is. But anyways, so I had this cash from my mom sitting on the table. And then I also had some cash in my wallet from like my birthday, from when I was visiting my parents, and my dad gave me some cash for my birthday. So with all of that, I was like, okay, let me see if I have the $300 for this chair between the money in my wallet and this trip money left or payback. And I did. So the nice thing is I was able to buy this chair off of Facebook Marketplace, and I didn't even have to like have it come out of my bank account because it was cash that was already sitting there, not basically being tracked or accounted for. So that was kind of like a blessing in that aspect. So I was happy about that, especially considering the fact that I just had to spend a couple grand on some electrical repairs on my house. So I just had to spend, so a good chunk of money on electrical repairs, which was kind of like a pain to be able to do that. And I'm like cringing as I'm paying the bill, but it's like, it's stuff that absolutely 100% had to be done because it had to deal with like safety issues. So I had to pay for it. And I had to have that work done, but still at the same time, it doesn't change the fact that I was cringing and my soul hurt as I paid that, that bill. So anywho, that's where let's see. So that was kind of like my fun of like my past week. There was something else I was going to talk about that I can't remember I was going to say because I got distracted because I'm easily distracted. I have been doing good as far as like very little like purchases, other than like onesies and twosies. I've been trying to stick to like a designated budget of I can spend this amount on like an accessory, this amount on actual like diamond paintings. I've been trying to like stick to a strict budget for that. And for Black Friday as well, I'm also going to be doing, I know everyone's always thinking about Black Friday once we roll into our November timeframe. And I've already decided, because I'm trying to be very strict with myself, one, for the money factor, but two, for the two, also for the fact that I have so many paintings in my hoard right now, and I do not like how many paintings I have in my hoard. It's a number that makes me uncomfortable because it is so much, and it's higher than I ever wanted to get. So right now, my goal is going to be to, like, I know for a fact that me trying to do a no-buy is a recipe for failure. So if I try to set up and do a no-buy and not purchase, I'm going to find myself slipping up, and next thing you know, I have bought all the things. So rather than doing that, I focus on like a very, very set like low buy, where it has to be like if it's a piece that I voted for and I absolutely love it, or if it's a Yume. And even those ones that I voted for, the majority of those lately I've been putting on my wish list. But if it's a Yume, that is like my one absolute exception is Yume art. And then my other main exception is going to be well, I technically have three exceptions. I have the Yumeis, I have any of my Ghibli themed kits and Allura Poutrats from Diamond Artisan Shop. And then I have my like little tiny mini canvases from Diamond Delights. So those are kind of like my exceptions that I will purchase right now. One, the mini kits I go through really quickly. Two, I have to have my my Ghibli themed canvases from Diamond Artisan Shop, but in my Allura Poutrats. So Allura Poutrat is an absolute must-have artist. I buy everything from Allura that Brandy puts out over at Diamond Artisan Shop. So my my Alluras are a must-buy, and my Yumeis are a must-buy. Everything else, it's like, okay, is this one an actual must-buy, or can I put it on my wish list and wait? And lately, I've been doing really good at putting them on the wish list and waiting. I know Diamond Art Club has come out with a few Yumeis lately. I did purchase, obviously, the Yume that came out this past weekend. And then I did also purchase the Margaret Morales, because that's one of them that I have been waiting on. And if you guys watched my artist feature video that I posted like a week and a half, 2 weeks ago, one of the things that I showed on Margaret Morales' website, some of the images that I was waiting to be turned into diamond paintings, which isn't a ton of them from her. She's an artist that I love her art. She's a phenomenal artist, but I don't collect everything that she releases, thankfully, because, you know, it's enough to have Allura and Yume as my must-to artists. So that's something that I've been basically, you know, so with that, I did end up purchasing this weekend. I did get the Yume, and then I did get the Margaret Morales with the Yume. But I also had a decent, I want to say that that decent discount code with it, which was good. So I think I ended up having 23% off as a discount code. So that was nice to have that code there. And then on top of that, let's see. Oh, this week is the Christmas releases, and I have to see what the final release is because I'm filming it. And while I'm filming is when they'll have pushed out that final like sneak peek of the final release for the 40 holiday canvases that Diamond Art Club is releasing this weekend / tomorrow / today if you're watching this on Saturday when it goes up. So there's 40 Christmas canvases that are being released. And so far there, I want to say 3 or 4, I think 3 of them that they're releasing that I voted for. And I don't vote for a ton of Christmas ones. I know it was the last Miss Holly that they featured with the corgi. I voted for that one. I also voted for the Maddie Arts one, which is that beautiful lady, the beautiful woman holding the candle. And then I also voted for the Mrs. Butterdee one. Those are the 3 that I voted for this from that Christmas voting round that they have showcased to release on Saturday. So as much as I really want, like I can live without the Miss Holly one. I can live without that one. But the 2 that I absolutely love, and it takes a lot for me to love a Christmas painting because I'm not normally like, oh, it's a Christmas painting, must have. But I do absolutely love that Mrs. Butterdee, and I do absolutely love the Maddie Arts one. But I think they're not ones that are like my absolute will die without canvases like you may or anything like that. So I think I'm actually going to wish list, especially since I just bought last weekend. I'm going to wish list those kits. I do have to say that the less I buy right now, the easier it's getting to not buy, if that makes sense. So the more I do my like targeted low buy, the easier it's getting to resist canvases that are being released and just like pop them on the wish list. And then if they get discontinued, it's not the end of the world with any of these kits. So am I sad that the Mrs. Butterdee canvases from Halloween, like Boo Cafe, am I sad that the 2 Mrs. Butterdees that were on my wish list are now archived? Yes, but am I like going to jump out there and try to hunt down them on D-Stash? No. Which kind of tells me a lot that I'm like, okay, well, did I really need it in the first place then? Obviously not if I'm, not heartbroken about the fact that it's discontinued and I don't feel like I need to go out and hunt it down. So that's kind of like the mindset that I'm trying to have more with these new releases is if I had to buy this on a D-Stash, would I be willing to pay more than what it's listed for its original release price in order to have this canvas on in my collection? And if the answer is nope, I'm not willing to buy it on a D-Stash, well, then it can go on the wish list and I may get it eventually. But if it's something that I'm like, yes, this is a kit that I absolutely 100% would hunt down and purchase on D-Stash and pay more than what I would have if I bought it new, I would pay more than that to get it on that D-Stash. If that's the answer, then that means that that's a kit that I'm going to go ahead and buy. So like obviously the Yumeis fall underneath that category, and the Lyubka cats also fall underneath that category. I think those are like, and the Geneva Bowers. I try to keep it limited, but then I end up, getting so many. Thankfully they haven't released a ton of Geneva canvases. So I don't have to worry about, having 56 Genevas because they haven't released very many of them yet, which is nice. Same thing with the Lyubkas. I think I have 4 or 5 Lyubkas. I have all of them that they've released, and I'm glad that they have not released copious quantities of them because then I would be buying more. I'll stick with just one artist that's a prolific artist from them that they release a ton of every year, and that's my Yume canvases. I'll stick with having just Yume as my prolific must-buy artist because anything else I think would be a little too much. But anywho, what are you guys hoping to purchase? That will be the question. Ooh, look at this. I've finished this section and we still have like 5 minutes of time. So I am going to slide this over and at least start on this next section right here. I think I will at least kind of open it up, get it prepped, just maybe start it a little bit in our last few minutes that we have together. So yes. Oh, and that was the other thing that I was going to talk about while I prep this section. And I'm going to just work with the same color that I have out, which is going to be this color right in here because it's already in my tray. So right now I'm going to go ahead and do this right here. So we're going to put it right to there, and let me make sure I get my line. So it's kind of like a little bit more than this one section because this release paper was not put on, or this like plastic cover was not put on straight. It was put on crooked. So that's something that has bothered me because these pink lines don't line up. So that's another reason why I ignore those perforated sections, because that throws me off if I don't have like a perfectly square section to work off of. But anywho, back to it. What was I going to say? Let me get back onto my section. Oh yes. So right now, this is a really tough time for a lot of small shops. I don't know if you guys have been paying attention. We've had more small shops shutting down lately, both on the diamond painting side, but then also on the accessory side. And that's something that, let me steal that drill back up and put it back in its place since I just popped it off with my thingamadoohickey. So yeah, we're having a lot more small shops that are closing right now. And it's really sad when that happens, when we get these closures of these small shops. And I know the latest one that's happening is Yellow Dog Designs, which definitely makes me sad because I love the Yellow Dog trays, as you guys know from me talking all the time about the fact that like these are the only trays that I use right now. So that is something that does make me sad having them close. It's sad for them as a business, and it's also really sad for our Canadian counterparts because our Canadian counterparts now don't have them as a fantastic tray maker right there in Canada, where they don't have to pay shipping, and the expensive shipping, and then they don't have to pay like any kind of tariffs or taxes or duties or anything like that for those trays. Well, on the plus side, for the people on the States side of everything, Ditsy's Diamond Den, I don't who I've heard the name before, but I'm not familiar with them or their shop or channel or anything like that. But they are coming out. They did buy the files and the rights and everything to the trays from Yellow Dog, and they're working with Yellow Dog to try to like basically to make it as close as you can possibly get to the original Yellow Dog trays, which I think is really cool that they're doing that, like that they're working with Yellow Dog for that. I will see how it turns out and how close they are, because that's that's like great for those in the US, because now of course we'll be able to purchase the Yellow Dog trays again, or like the Ditsy's Diamond Den's Yellow Dog version of Yellow Dog Designs trays. So that's a plus. But then I feel for my Canadian counterparts, because like everybody always thinks, okay, like we in the States complain about any kind of tariff, because some people have been hit with some of the tariffs lately, depending on where they're purchasing from. But at the same time, like we're just now starting to feel over this summer and this year, since like the April-May timeframe, starting to feel what so many of our fellow diamond painters that are overseas or in Canada or in Mexico, so many of what our other fellow diamond painters have been dealing with from day one. So for Canada, for example, you take you get a diamond painter in Canada who can afford, a little bit of accessories here and there, but not a lot. When they purchase from a small shop, that's based in the United States, between taxes and duties and shipping, the charges that they pay a lot of times is like 2 to 3 times the price of the actual object that they're getting in the first place. And it's like, I know if that was me having to pay those fees, I would basically just say, you know what, do I really need this? No, not today. Because I'm like, that's a lot to pay for something. So you take something that maybe the tray is only $15, and you get 2 trays, that's $30, but now you have to pay for shipping, and say the shipping is like $15 on top of it, 15 to 20 bucks on top of it, and now you're paying a brokerage fee on top of that. So you pay the brokerage fee, and then you also have the actual duties that you're paying in addition to the brokerage fee, because those are 2 different charges. And next thing you know, that $30 worth of trays, all told, is costing you like $75, $85, $90, somewhere in there. Like it's mind-boggling how expensive it can be for some of our international and like non-US based diamond painters when it comes to this. And that's why it's such an important thing to have the ability to purchase like accessories that are made in your own country, because then you don't have to pay all of those fees. You don't have to deal with all of that. So I think that's something that definitely impacts our counterparts, and that's what a lot of us in the States don't necessarily think about it. And that's something like if you've ever tried to destash something to another out of this country, if you're destashing a painting, it can cost, it typically on average costs $30 US to destash a painting to Canada. That's kind of like, and then that's not even factoring in any kind of fees and import duties and any of that our Canadian friends are having to pay. So say you buy a kit for, you get it for $30 on destash from the States, but now you're paying another $30 in shipping costs. And then of course you've got the duty fees on top of that. So that all adds up quite a bit. And not everybody can just, willy-nilly purchase like that. They have to, not everybody's funding line and what they have is different. And for some people, that means that they really are like, okay, am I going to buy an accessory this month or am I going to buy a diamond painting? And you have to make that decision and see. Whereas, some people, when they don't think about the cost, they can buy twice as many accessories, twice as many diamond paintings, because we don't have those same fees and tariffs. So that's just kind of like one of the things that makes me sad about Yellow Dog closing, is because now our Canadian counterparts are losing like a really awesome shop, and for many of them the ability to actually get those trays and afford to get those trays, because like I said, many people can't afford to pay all of those extra fees that you get when you're buying international for that. But anywho, that's kind of like some of the stuff that's been on my mind. We are at our time limit. I have been talking for like way too long. I know this has been like a lot of a heavier WIP and chat. I feel like, I don't know. I feel like it's a lot of like soapboxes and things that I've jumped on and spoken about in today's WIP and chat, but a little bit heavier than my normal like light and airy ones. But anywho, that was just kind of what's on my mind, and I like talking about what's on my mind for that aspect. But we're going to kind of leave it there. I'm done talking about it. Let me turn my light on, and then let me turn my light pad off. And we can see what this canvas looks like. I do have to say I am 100% in love with these colors. I did it cursed right before I did this canvas. I mean, look at how beautiful this is. I love it. It's so cute. I got the shoes. I love these crystals. They're beautiful. I do love how much color blocking is in this kit. And I have to say, as far as like a large square, this one is working up really fast and going very well. So I'm really pleased with that. I am in love with the colors on this one. So prior to doing this kit, my last kit that I finished was Cursed, also by Mrs. Butterdee. But Cursed, yes, it was rounds and it worked up very quickly. But it was also like the same shade of brown and orange for like the entire canvas. Here, yes, you have like these like brownish tones into this area, and then you have a lot of these oranges up in here, but there's so many pinks, there's greens, there's some teal, there's all different shades in here, and it's been wonderful doing, like, the color on here has been fantastic, and I definitely am happy with how much color variety we have on this one compared to like doing Cursed, which also kind of like makes me think for some of the other kits that I have in my hoard. Like I know I have a number of Mrs. Butterdee canvases that have that more neutral brown color palette, and after working on Cursed, that's like really making me second guess those kits. I've been much more hesitant to purchase them moving forward, and now I'm like, okay, am I actually going to do this, or should I destash it to someone else? If it's a piece that I'm in love with the artwork, I think I'll keep it, but otherwise I think I need to like take a hard look at my hoard and see if there's anything that I need to destash because of like the color palette, which is hard to do, especially when you love the artwork so much. But I think I'm at that point where I really have to make that decision and think about that. But anyways, I can keep talking. I don't know why I'm so like talky tonight versus my normal, but look at how pretty she is. I am loving this, and I love the fact that we are now officially We're working on, we just finished that drawer pull right there, and now I'm starting into the second section, which will be up to like right here on this. So it's kind of like up into there. So I want to see how much of this I can finish this weekend. And I'm hoping that by the end of Veterans Day, I can finish this canvas, because I'll work on this section tonight. It's only 8 o'clock, so I will be able to finish this strip right here tonight, which puts me to here. And then I have Saturday, Sunday, Monday evening, and all day Tuesday that I can work on to finish this one here. So that'll be good. Because I can easily clear 2 sections in one day like this. And if it's like a long holiday, if it's like a full day, like a weekend day, like during the week, I typically will do 1 section. On the weekend, I can easily knock out 2 to 3 per day on the weekend. So I'm really looking forward to finishing this one. And that will be my goal, finish it by the end of the day on Veterans Day. And I will get back with you guys next week and let you know if I succeeded or not. I'm making good progress, and this is a good section. This section is going to be slower, but this is a good section right here. But anywho, I'm going to stop rambling because I have been rambling way too much today. And I am going to go ahead and let you guys go. Have a great day, everybody. Bye.